Me and Diomara, she is 12 years old, have had a rough summer. She's been more defiant than usual. I've been dating her mom Mara for 2 years now. 9 months ago, they moved in with me, Maple. Both Dio and Mara have an on-again / off-again relationship with Dio's dad, Dionysus. He's pretty much never paid child support, comes and goes as he pleases into Dio's life. Typical shitty-ass part-time dad. I've tried to fill the dad role in her life, while still understanding boundaries, taking things slow, etc. This summer Dionysus decides he wants to be a real dad and takes Dio in for a month. Good for him, not my business, and Mara agrees. When Dio came back home because school started, she was a lot different. Really mean to me, very dismissive. A few days ago she got caught shoplifting at the mall. Security took her in, then called Mara, who didn't answer, then called Dionysus, who didn't answer, and finally me. I answered. They told me I had to pick her up or she'll be handed over to juvenile. I didn't say anything to her while I picked her up. I apologized to security, apologized to the store. I even tipped the security guards plus the store employees because it's up, they had to deal with that. I assured them Dio would be punished appropriately. I'm speaking to her in a strong, affirmative voice while we're in the car. Not yelling, but in a fatherly tone, I suppose. I'm telling her how up it is to steal, and how I don't. With thieves, and how I absolutely don't voluntarily. With any kind of police, so I don't appreciate any of this, nor will I accept it in my house. She snaps back that I'm not her dad, so don't ever tell her what to do. From now on, if I want to tell her something, I need to clear it with her real father first. That killed my soul. For the past year or so, I've treated her as my own daughter. I've paid for their housing, I've paid for her mom's car, her schooling, her food, everything. Her bio dad dropped $100 check off one time in the past year. In check bounced, so I had to call him up and he brought cash over. I told Mara about all of this. She was appalled at what Dio said, but she never made Dio apologize because she's not wrong, you're not her dad. A couple of days later Dio asks me for some money to pay for her uniform / accessories she needs for a sport she's involved in. I say go ask your dad. She scoffs and says her dad doesn't have the money for it, so I have to pay for it. I tell her, I'm not her dad, so don't ever tell me what I have to pay for. She cried to Mara, who tells me I'm not being an adult about the situation. Mind you, I never received an apology or a thanks for our entire previous situation. Mara says Dio is a kid and I need to stop acting like a kid too. I have 3 siblings between the ages of 10 and 18. I'm the oldest, fourth at 25. Every year on every single one of our birthday, we're expected to celebrate my mom as well. We've done it since we were little. It was taught to me as giving thanks for carrying plus giving birth to us. Which I'm all for. I am grateful, as we wouldn't be here without her. The issue is though, it becomes less of our birthday and more so an anniversary for the day our mom gave birth. Every year on our birthday our mom gets gifts too. As we got older, we're now expected to get her monetary gifts, and not cards, or homemade stuff. Just recently was my birthday and I was gifted some much needed clothes and dishware for my new apartment. My dad, however, got my mom a new MacBook. My siblings all got her gifts too. My youngest brother isn't expected to give much. But my 16-year-old sister and 18-year-old second brother work, so they're expected to give gifts too. My sister pulled me aside before my birthday and said she was sorry she couldn't get me much. She got me a sweater, I love it. And that she wanted to get me more, but our mom was pressuring her to get a certain necklace for our mom. Apparently my mom had been dropping hints for months and my sister was worried our mom would be upset and feel underappreciated if she didn't get it. I asked how much it was, and my sister said it was $300. I honestly lost it on our mom and chewed into her later that afternoon when my mom opened her gifts after me. I think she's ridiculous for even wanting my sister to spend so much on a gift. Mom started crying and my dad kicked me out. Mom won't answer calls, but my aunt, Mom's sister, called and said I was a POS for not respecting my mother and that I'm a selfish, narcissist child for being jealous of the gifts Mom got. I thought I was in the right, but now I don't know. It's been over 2 weeks and Mom won't answer my calls. She's been posting on Facebook inspiration quotes about letting go of the toxicity in your life, how blood doesn't equal family, and how hard it is to be a mother. Several family members, aunt, grandma, uncle, and 2 of my cousins, are replying to the posts and are very obviously directing vague comments at me about being a horrible daughter. What to think now because of how many people are on her side. My newborn's pediatrician is always so crowded in terms of size of waiting room versus number of people waiting. It requires a certain amount of etiquette controlling your kid, because there are no toys, no play area, no real space for shenanigans. Enter lady with 4 kids, a newborn, 2 toddlers, and a kindergarten-aged kid, little girl in question here. She really should have brought an iPad or a second adult or something because her kids were literally running around this space, yelling and screeching. The mom was oblivious to all of her kids except the newborn, who was quietly breastfeeding while Mom was glued to her phone screen. Accordingly, other people were put in the awkward position of having to discipline her kids. Several people had previously tried to put her kids back in line for whatever issue, harassing their kids, being loud, whatever. Her kindergarten-age daughter, who clearly had some kind of special needs, was absolutely enamored with my newborn and his stroller. She was asking me if she could push it around. No, she was getting super close to my newborn, stop, and was generally just being annoying. FFS at one point when I wasn't looking and was preoccupied with my own kid. She went digging in my diaper bag and throwing my stuff onto the chair and the floor. My newborn was really fussy because we were there for a sick visit and he wasn't feeling well. And I did not feel like entertaining some strange kid. I tried being polite about it. Sweetie, where's your mommy? Points to mom, ma'am. Points to kid. The lady would call her kid back, but the kid just kept coming back to me. Rinse and repeat. I told her she needed to stay with her mom. Little punk says I don't wanna and keeps trying to touch my son, my stroller, our stuff. Finally, I'm trying to fix a bottle of formula while holding a screaming baby and listening to this little girl like a broken record. Why is your baby crying? Why is your baby crying? Make him stop. I don't like that, and her annoying self knocks my bottle of formula off the table and into my stroller. So now I'm out formula, kid still screaming, and I have a huge mess that I don't have a great way to clean up. I'm at my wit's end. I raise my voice at this kid. Look what you did. I am not your babysitter. You are bothering me. Get out of my face. People looked at me like I was the biggest on earth. A lady speaking Spanish actually did call me a. The little girl starts crying. I'm not apologizing. The mom confronts me. I tell her she should have been watching her kid, and that's the hill I'm prepared to die on. I met her 2 years ago when we worked together and quickly became very close. She helped me through the darkest times of my life. I was mid-split with an abusive ex when we met. And I helped her through some really tough and unimaginable things. There were lots of rumors at the time we were seeing each other and everyone assumed we were an item. But for the past 2 years our relationship has been purely platonic. She was my best friend, and up until a few weeks back I don't think we'd even ever hugged. Fast forward to a week ago, she came over for dinner and wine. This is very common and normal. We had more than usual and she was over the limit so couldn't drive, so she stayed the night. We slept in the same bed but apart and no physical contact again. It was completely normal and just as expected. We somehow didn't get up and ended up staying in bed until 10 p.m. the next day just talking. Sometime during that evening she got upset about something going on in her life. I rubbed her back while telling her everything will be okay, and then we just cuddled. Probably the first bit of real physical contact between us, but nothing was sexual. Didn't feel weird and she went home and it was all okay. This last weekend we had a hiking holiday planned, where we'd be sleeping in her van. She has a converted Transit. It's one bed, but we thought we'd be fine. First night it was freezing, ending up cuddling and spooning, but again didn't feel sexual. Second night is where it all went a bit wrong. We drank a bit too much and the spoon ended up getting carried away. It seems to be a joint thing, and before I knew it we were kissing and touching each other everywhere. It was a bit of a frenzy of this for about 15 minutes until we both stopped and realized what we just did. After this we spoke a little and asked if either of us regretted it. We both said we didn't, but it was odd. She got upset and I told her it was okay, it didn't change anything and we could just draw a line under it. We woke up the next morning and it happened again. We didn't talk too much but then went for a walk, and then just before we headed home we ended up all over each other again. We were completely naked but again stopped, cuddled and lay there. We both agreed it was a what happens in X, stays in X type event. It was a really long trip home, 6 hours plus. During this she would rest her head on my hand on lap ECT, and it seemed very different to our usual dynamic. When we stopped at services for breaks we seemed to walk arm in arm. We kept kissing on and off, but it seemed strangely normal. We arrived back at her home. She lives with her dad at the moment, but just before I left she kissed me again and thanked me for a wonderful weekend. The following day she came over to get some stuff I took home with me. We end up just cuddling, kissing, feeling and so on again, but she has dinner with a friend and we stop it there. She goes on her way. This should feel really weird and strange, but it felt completely normal, and we both discussed it that it was so odd it felt normal. Yesterday she turned up unannounced at my place, which is not a normal thing, with coffee and donuts. We end up talking, cuddling, kissing again, and then we end up talking about what this is, the big problem. Neither of us were sure. She got panicky and burst out in tears and left. She said she was really scared and her words were, "I think I will end up pushing you away and hurting you, and I don't want to do that to you." I told her I would come and see her later and talk. I drove to her house, but her ex was there, another slight issue. They broke up 6 years ago, stayed close friends. He is a lovely bloke, but in his head he is certain they will get married and have children. She's had the conversation with him, but he seems to shut it off. If he found out she was seeing anyone he would get extremely angry. But there's so much family history intertwined between the both, it's really complicated. For that reason she has avoided seeing anyone in the past 6 years. The reason he turned up is she hadn't responded to him since the night we kissed. I went home when I saw his car and just said she could come to mine to chat later. She turned up, sad and very emotional. She explained she ran off because she is terrified of losing our friendship. I said let's just cut the romance out, draw a line under it and be friends again, but she seemed to not speak much when I said this. I asked if her ex was the issue. She said it was nothing to do with us but a whole other issue. But that was not impacting what was going on between us. We sat quietly, hugged, and I tried to reassure it would be okay, and I wasn't going to start hating her for whatever reason. And I am completely fine with just being platonic friends again. We both agree and say whatever happens we stay friends and nobody gets hurt, but we will pull back from the more physical side. I woke up this morning really panicky. I have no idea where we are, where we stand, and absolutely terrified of losing our friendship. I don't know what to do or say. I felt sick to my stomach and can't eat at the thought of this. She is coming around later to collect some of her clothes she left last night, and I am thinking I need a plan of what to say / do. I cannot lose my best friend. She is absolutely everything to me, but I am worried we crossed a line and there's only one eventual outcome which won't be good.